And we're live, back again. This is the Shoutouts, and we're here for another episode of Lit Literature, which we're super pumped about because we had a bit of a break, in terms of recording at least. And today we are going to talk Altered Carbon, book and show, no holds barred, no separation. So if you haven't read or seen both of those, be wary that there will be spoilers. For both of them. This is your host, JP, aka The Demon, and we have the usual cast of characters here, starting with the captain, I believe.
That's all right. Right now I'm coming in from the Shattered Land still, but I'm a little out of breath and tired from running from the Patchwork Man all day, so you'll have to excuse me if my sanity is a bit low, but I'm here and I'm alive for the time being.
All right. Patchwork Man didn't steal the skin. Go ahead, man.
Awesome. The Cherry. I've currently read just the book, so I'm going to be unawares on the series.
Oh, good call.
You should totally tell me when you read the actual show.
When he reads the show.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Ben Hitman here. I've only read the book, but I did read a lot of stuff online, and it's only about the show for some reason. Because they don't have the stuff about the book, so I know a little bit about the show too.
All right.
Right on.
We're going to have some surprises.
Brett, the director, I only watched the show because I didn't have any Audible credits this month.
We've been reading too much.
I'm already down with the Pet Cemetery. I already used it on Pet Cemetery. So yes, only the show.
Advertisement for another episode.
Indeed.
And it's Eam the Dream, or at least that is the sleeve I decided to use today.
He wanted to be tall, dark, and handsome.
Yes, I wanted to be a part of Team TDH, so I left the blonde wig at home.
And you, what did you read? Or did you do both?
I did the book and I also watched the show.
Awesome.
Oh, you read them both.
For you guys,
I read the book and I read the show.
He read the show. Okay. And also, folks, I read and watched the show. And Captain?
I have also read and watched the show.
Good. So we got a good mix. There are going to be some surprises and some fun things to talk about. We kind of did that purposely. We wanted some variation and surprise thoughts.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear some of the differences from you guys.
Oh, man, there are
A ton.
some key differences.
There's some big ones.
Yeah, but the overarching story, actually, they kept really well. Which
They
is
did.
pretty cool. And some of the giant scenes they adapted really cool. So,
Some stuff they just completely, like, what the...
Like what?
well, we'll all have different ideas. So I think we should start with the standard kind of issue, which is we didn't get a ton of stuff in Hollywood about this, and I think it's because the book set it up. But let's be real, the character, Tak, who goes by Tak because his name's Takeshi,
Kovacs.
whose part in the world that he lives on was predominantly settled by Japanese and Eastern European people. So he's kind of got a mix, but I mean he's essentially mixed Asian based on his true genetics.
Yeah, he's Japanese and then
Slavic. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really cool because I thought the author did a lot of fun things to kind of tie in some of the culture that would maybe he imagined might come from a fusion of he's probably thinking like, how did this happen in America in certain areas where it was like big cultural collisions,
Right.
and try to make that into a planet, which I thought was pretty cool. But interestingly, for most of the show and book, he's in this guy named Riker sleeve,
Right.
who's basically
He's
a big
in
white
the
dude.
sleeve of this guy named Riker. His name is not Riker Sleeve.
In this guy's Riker sleeve.
Yeah, he's not just a white dude. He's like the white dude.
Yeah. He's no white dude.
Or as they say in the show, Gaijin.
Yeah,
Gaijin,
right.
yeah.
He's like as Gaijin as you get.
Yeah, he's literally the demon, but with brown eyes and not so
Instead
big.
of blue. Those baby blues.
He also, that actor plays a role in House of Cards.
Yeah,
Nice.
He do. Yeah, he do.
And when you see him in that, you're just like, wow, that is a white dude.
So I honestly, him casted as Riker sleeve, I thought was amazing. Actually, he did a great job.
Yeah,
my opinion.
I agree.
He was
Yeah.
pretty well. I pictured Riker to be kind of a hard, sharp-faced hard detective type.
Yeah.
That fit my
Scarred.
picture.
Like, I think they did a really good job with the cast for him as well. He
Yeah.
also kind of reminded me of like, that's what I imagined if they cast like an actual live version of like Soldier 76. Like,
So he's gonna play 76 in the
right.
Overwatch movie for sure.
So let me go to the guys who just read. What did you guys picture as Takeshi Kobat?
So I do have to kind of be honest here. I watched the first episode before I even started
okay.
reading.
Pictured it then?
So I
Ooh.
essentially pictured the guy that they got to play him.
Okay.
in
Gotcha.
I pictured
which worked really well.
someone older in my head,
Oh.
like in his 40s maybe,
That could be
like just kind of weathered.
because
like,
of the smoking. Makes sense, right?
Like I kind of pictured gray hair, but like the still lively gray hair. Have you ever seen that?
Like a salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah, salt and pepper.
So
well, he was
just-
blonde, so no salt and pepper, stupid.
Yeah. Also, my brother is younger than me, and he's a little salt and pepper. So salt and pepper could come.
I also pictured
Salt and
him
pepper's
whiter
Salt and pepper's here.
than I've seen the pictures online.
Oh,
and I've pictured him whiter.
He's jacked.
And like,
Oh, you pictured him whiter than he is in the show?
I've only seen pictures of the show.
wow,
And he
he's
looks
a
pretty
big
skinny.
dude.
Oh my god, he is jacked as a mother father.
is.
He's
Yeah.
cut.
He's really
He-
lean.
I wouldn't say that he's
Jacked
jacked.
and lean.
He's not like
His upper body is
Oh,
obnoxiously
muscular.
big.
He was.
I just
yeah.
picture him whiter, like another foot. Like I haven't seen the show.
Yeah.
And I only seen like a picture, and he just looked skinny.
I think the
lean.
thing is the actor is
He's
a
tall.
giant
Yeah,
Swedish
he's
dude.
really big.
So
He's like
being
6'3",
as jacked as
isn't
he
he?
is, he looks like a giant.
Yeah,
I
he's super
remember
tall.
seeing Ortega, and she's like
Like
to
up to
his
here.
waist.
She's a cute little Latina. Get a girl.
By the way, that
Sí
sex
se
scene was
puede.
fun to watch because he looked like he could spin her around.
And she had like such a
Baton.
nice body.
Yeah, she
The
did.
actress that they chose for her, like, oh my god, I was like, okay, she's petite and like definitely curvy. Like, I like it. I love it.
Same
I
with
want some
same with
more of
Ray.
it.
They both had extremely awesome bodies.
Oh damn!
Oh, I'm gonna have to
sister.
disagree with that.
Oh, you're disagreeing. Oh,
Ray,
damn.
he has a sister.
I thought Raylene was a little bit. Yeah, Raylene was crazy
Our book
weird.
guys are thinking crazy. So
That's
There's
one
no
of the
sister in the
major
book? No
differences.
sister.
that they
well,
Yeah.
there's no
That's
sister
right.
alive in the book.
Well,
Right.
they never even talks about a sister
What
or family.
Interestingly,
she's like the
Well,
main
his dad. But
plot point.
No,
Yeah.
so what they did is they fused the main enemy of the book, who is a person that he knows from his
Childhood.
past,
Uh-huh.
as his sister
Kawagara?
instead.
Kawagara?
Kawagara.
Yeah.
Ray-
Yeah,
Ray
Raylene.
Raylene.
The female
Raylene?
Raylene.
who owns Cloud in the Sky.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
she's
They made-
his sister in the
that's
show.
it. I am
In the show, she's his sister.
Yeah, sister's
but
evil
is-
in the show?
Kind of.
She turns kind
It's
of evil.
gray
Yeah.
she
area,
is.
but
Yeah.
it's
It's not.
evil.
She is. She's evil.
She gets corrupt. Yeah.
she
for
becomes
sure.
corrupt, which this
They
is
made
something.
her like super creepy, obsessive,
Yeah.
like incestual almost. Like it was gross.
Yeah,
So-
she did kind of have a thing for him.
Yeah. So here's the thing that they were,
I got
and this
theories
is our
on that,
first, I think, real topic. Is in the book there were certain there were messages that the author was kind of saying, but Takeshi's character in the book gives a lot less of a shit about them.
Yeah.
And in the show, they made it a little bit more righteous. I'm going to sell a certain lesson. Because in the book, the Mets,
Mets.
they are... He even argues at one point that just because they're meth doesn't mean they're bad.
Right.
He has that argument.
Yeah.
And in the show, it's more of a, we shouldn't live forever. It will corrupt us all at some point.
Right.
And in Takeshi's mind, he's actually... I don't think he gives a fuck. Not even a little bit.
In the book or the
Yeah,
movie?
in the book.
Oh.
Yeah, in the
In
book,
the
he
show,
doesn't
Both,
care.
but for sure in the book.
He doesn't care in the book.
yeah.
He's more like, man.
Yeah.
In the
I
show,
think-
they play it off that he really soaked in his training that he got with the Resistance. They really
Right.
play up that factor of it in the Netflix show, but in the book, you kind of don't get much of that. He's way more hard-boiled, classic noir detective style, where he kind of doesn't really give a shit about much in the
Yeah.
book version.
Well, I would
Yeah,
definitely agree
I was
because the book it's all about, like, when they do the flashbacks, I'm surprised that you're saying that they make it about what's actually happening. In the book, all the flashbacks are only about, like, essentially just war trauma. Like,
Yeah.
they're hardly about, like, who you get really little setup on who he's fighting and what really is why he's
Yeah,
fighting.
no, his...
Just that it's just a mission, you're going, and he's like, PTSD almost.
No, he has
Not- he
way.
doesn't,
He is
but-
even worse. He's like classified partially insane, which when you're reading from his mind, he's kind of insane. And I loved in the scene in the book where he talks about. I wish they put this line in the show where he's like, you know what, we're taught like this and that, but you always make it personal in certain instances.
Yeah.
And in the book, they did it well in the show too, where basically he's getting tortured, and we're going to talk about that scene later in the book because it's worse in the book in certain ways.
Oh my god!
They did a good
Brutal.
job.
Yeah.
They did a good job making it bad in the show,
series.
but they were very, very wisely skirting certain
couldn't go as
things
far as you can in
that
the
were
book.
going on in Hollywood, and we'll talk about that. But they still had that
interested to hear
scene
what
where
it
he
is.
basically just goes through the entire place and true deaths everyone. But in the book, it was so much more. Like
Yes.
the
The torture scene was hard for me.
Oh yes.
and then after he comes back and they did a good job in the
Yes.
show, but they did.
He blows
in the
some
book-
stacks.
just a few.
Well, what is it? What's the difference? As
All
long
right,
as we're on
so
the topic.
let's talk about it. So that'll be topic number 1 then.
Okay.
So in the book, they purposely sleeve him in a female body. And
Okay.
remember, this is partially...
Not only is a female body, a female that is on her period.
Right.
Specifically,
And-
they do it
Yeah.
on her period because they know how nerves and sensory is
That
like...
women have heightened. They
And
even
then
explain it.
that's the extent of the torture. They're just like, enjoy.
Oh, man.
In the book,
Actually,
in the book,
to be honest...
they have a very poignant line in the book where it says, in general, women have a higher threshold of pain. They can take more pain than men can. However, there's an exception when they're on their period. They can take a lot less. So
Well,
that's
I
kind
think
of
part
like
of-
when you're trying to torture someone, just put them in a pregnant female body, and it
But
will be the
also-
worst of the worst.
Yeah, also, like, for some reason, during this one scene, I thought it was weird that they explained that women are, like, the true human and men are just, like, machines.
yeah, that was really
It
interesting.
kind of caught me off guard. And,
And-
like, women are, like, the epitome of humanity. And, like, they feel so much more... There's so much more.
And
like,
he even talks
capable.
about like how when he's back in a man's sleeve after a while,
It's,
being
like,
in a female
dull.
sleeve, he feels dull.
Yeah, because
Really? Feels
men
dull.
put up. They
Interesting.
said
Their
essentially
sensories
men's
are
skin
more-
is like men wear their skin like an armor, and to keep the outside from getting in, whereas women. Their skin
Absorb.
is an
Right.
absorption, and
For
they use
feel.
it to pull in and to feel and to touch, and that's how they interact with the world.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when they explain that, that's why you put them in a woman's body because
And
Yeah,
that's
they-
The
where
pain
I
is
think-
that
I'm
much
confused
more
though. So
acute.
does that mean that the interrogation is not in virtual then?
It is in
It is.
no,
No,
it's
they
real.
actually
They
take
talk
him-
about putting them in virtual.
Yeah, they don't do him in virtual. They actually insert his
Stack. So
So they're
conscious
actually
into a,
torturing him in
yeah,
the real world.
They're torturing
No,
a real
in a woman.
body.
Yeah.
No,
In the book, they are.
It's in virtual.
No, because they
Yes.
said they could put you in. They're like, we could put you in virtual and relive this scenario like 100 times.
We could. It was a
but
threat.
yeah,
but
they didn't do that.
That's what they did in the show.
I am
I
pretty
think actually
sure.
they might have been in actually.
I'm
Well,
like
we'll have to, that's an
95%
interesting
sure
point.
it's virtual
Either way,
in the book.
the point that they make there, it's very light. Like it's.
Do you think that it
almost-
could potentially be them trying to convince him he's not in virtual so that they can do all these things without having to
See,
worry
there
about
isn't-
him knowing
That's
it's
a good
virtual?
I
question.
think they don't care whether you know.
They
or
don't
not.
care really.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
virtual essentially is the same as
It's
like
the same, yeah.
Which,
But the point I want to go to real quick is, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because they skirted that in the show for good reason because they would have had to show some pretty insane torturing on female
On a female.
in the show. But at the same time, that scene was really powerful
strangely
in my
sexual,
thought
too.
towards how much he was highlighting the female, like
Yeah.
females
Well,
in general.
I'd be willing to bet that if that scene is hard to read, it would be almost impossible to watch.
Yeah.
You know, and
They-
that's probably why they kept him as a man.
so essentially they pin her arms and legs to the ground, and they're using a hot poker like a flamethrower too. Like first they burn her feet, and then they're going with a hot poker up her
Right.
like
Ugh.
area and burning it essentially like from the inside out. And even well, the thing too is I don't think it's virtual because they even said that
He
at one
even
point
says
they
that
they
person's
stopped
body
his
is-
heart. He purposefully stopped his heart to stop.
Yeah, that's
pain
right.
from
That's
coming.
right,
Oh,
Josh.
wow.
You can
But I
do
guess
that
you
in
could do that in
virtual
virtual
too.
But you could do that in virtual. I
No,
guess.
but I remember he did it so that they didn't want him to die.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to die, so he killed the body, and then they had to put his stack
In another
back
one.
to his body until they got another
Yeah.
body. But we'll have to
disagree,
check
yeah.
that. It could be either way. And honestly, the funny thing is, in the book, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Because like either way, yeah, it's crazy. But he decides,
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. They're
and that's
basically the same.
where
thing.
he talks a ton about that scene where he makes it personal, and then so in the show they did a good job because he killed like everyone who
Yeah.
worked there,
Good.
but he actually leaves, and then he comes back later in the book and he makes sure to kill every single person in the entire building.
Yeah.
Every person.
Because the
And-
doctor was like, "This isn't personal. This is just my job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no hard feelings."
He's like,
That's
"I'm
in
not
both the
personal."
show and
No,
the
it's
book,
personal.
Ben.
Yes.
Well, one thing that I thought was really interesting is this is, and overall, overreaching, this was one thing that I felt the book, or at least the series, was a bit weak in. I felt that they didn't do enough with Envoy. And I thought that it was like something that they just kind of threw out there, and I'm like, they didn't do too much with it.
So just so
But-
you know, the show they
Does-
tried to correct.
Yeah,
that.
they
Okay.
big
So,
time.
I
They
will
messed
say,
up in
though-
the show.
I will say though that the
We didn't
in
say
the
they did it
book
right,
with
though.
the
No, they did mess up.
this was one of the scenes where they actually like put some weight behind it that wasn't just like he's a smart guy. So they actually like his training allowed him to withdraw into himself and essentially not go insane from
Right,
the torture. That was one of the cool things, and I was like, I'm glad they did that. And I really there's some things I want to bring up later that I think I wish they could do. They could have done more with the whole Envoy thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool that they when they're going through the torture, he would flip back and forth through these different scenes, and he was like, even afterwards, he's like, I don't remember too much of it, and that's part of the Envoy training, because if I remembered it, I would be reliving it essentially, and it would still be there, so it's
Yeah.
not
He
there.
like goes to
Yeah,
his
I really
happy
like that
place.
too.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool
They
touch.
did do that in the they timed his in the show. They did a good job timing his torture with flashbacks to teach you about. But his flashbacks were all about teaching you of Envoy
Right.
training.
Right.
But it wasn't really Envoy training.
It was the
it was like
resistance training.
Rebels.
Yeah.
the
So
resistance.
the one thing that I
Which is really lame. That was one of the things that I thought was super annoying,
And-
was the fact that they didn't have Virginia Vidara.
yes.
Yeah, she was a.
She was the trainer.
But
Yeah.
the one thing that I didn't like
combined
is
with
I wish
someone
they
else, didn't they?
described these people more. I felt so lost every time they go back. I'm like, who the?
Well, remember, it
fuck
is a
am I?
trilogy, so
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
part of the
May
reason
get
that they're hinting in the book, they were hinting at it, and I thought maybe they were going to pull a little bit in ahead of time in the show. But I felt also that the rebel righteous cause of the envoys, that's not real. In the book, the envoys aren't real.
They're part of the
tools.
military.
They're
Yeah.
just a tool. They're more like what he was, what they pulled him into for his training
Yeah.
before the envoys
Oh,
in the
yeah.
show. In the show, they pull him into a group
Oh
called
yeah, I
the,
forget what they're called.
Q-Tech.
Yeah, Q-Tech.
C-Tech. Right?
K-Tech.
C-Tech.
Yeah.
And they made C-Tech out to be more like what
The
he
envoys.
was. And the envoys in the book are more
Really?
like that. They're like
So
weapons.
C-Tech didn't exist in the book?
No, not
They
really.
did exist, but they were more. They were like a level below Envoy. They were like a great fighting, because he threatens him pretending to be C-Tech officer that one time in the book when he's as they're torturing him in between sessions, and he's like, I'm C-Tech, they're all gonna come and kill you,
No,
whatever.
he said
No, he said he was an envoy.
That was what he said he was.
Yeah, he said he was an envoy. He
In-
says he's a C-Tech in the show.
Now in the book are the
in the book, he
envoys.
says he was
No,
C-Tech.
he was envoy. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm part of the military.
I'm an
they know that
envoy.
I'm here. They're gonna come down and destroy you.
Yeah.
We'll have to fact check that, because I am 99.9% positive they still played C-Tech up.
Nope.
No.
C-Tech was not mentioned
Not
in the book.
C-Tech was not
Right.
mentioned
We'll
in the
check
book.
it. We'll check it,
So
folks. We'll
C-Tech
check
is
it.
not
I'm just saying.
what he was a part
C-Tech's
of.
not
Okay.
in the book at all.
The envoys is pretty much like
I
a
didn't say he was
military
part of it.
branch.
He
Right.
lied
And
about
they're
it.
designated
I'm just saying
to like
it was not mentioned.
just
in
be
the book.
like killers. They're pretty much Ben
I'll
Henson.
check it out.
Right.
We'll check it out.
So were the in the book were the envoys actually fighting for the same thing as they are in the
No.
No.
Not
show?
even close.
So they're
They're
not.
not. They're
trying
not
to
a
just-
rebellion. They're really
they'll
just
put in down
machines.
rebellions.
Yeah, they're literally like just weapons for the government to control.
Well, they're working
Right.
for the government.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He's his care.
They're part of the
his
government.
give a shit level.
That's so
is-
weird.
His give a shit level in the book is it's still there.
Well, that
but it's innate.
explains one of my bigger kind of criticisms of the ending. of the whole thing, which was like, I don't get why he's gonna go find what's her name when she's like completely against
we could explain that to you about the
spun
book.
back up.
We could,
But
yeah.
that wasn't really anything
wasn't
in
in
the
it.
book. So
And he is going for his girl,
But her
his
name is
girl-
Sarah.
His girl is just like his partner.
Right.
They've been criminal partners. They've been like, it's like in the beginning, the girl who
Yeah.
was with him,
Yeah.
and then she dies.
That's the
Sarah.
good
That's his
Yeah.
girl.
That's the actual
That's the
girl he
that
wants.
he wants.
Yeah.
And the person who is his sister, who's actually the
Ray.
head Yakuza, like Ray.
The main
Ray
antagonist.
Brooke, she actually gets him to do her deeds because she secures her stack.
Sarah's
This girl's
stack.
stack.
to me, that actually seems like, hearing what they did in the book, that actually seems like a little bit of a sloppy adaptation. I think that's kind of
it
done
was-
properly in the show.
I guess I wouldn't
So
say
the
it
show
was
is a
sloppy. I
sloppy
thought that it
adaptation?
worked
I think so.
for. I
Just
thought
that
that
one
it worked
aspect of
for
it.
both media sources. It kind of came across as a little rushed in the show, but that's because I watched the show first, and then when I read the book and got the other side of the perspective, I'm like, oh man, they just made so many shortcuts in the show by making Ray his sister. Like, that really kind of...
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that the entire like motivation for him to continue on this story, for him to go out and find her, in the show, to me, made no sense. It seemed like
Oh
invalid.
yeah, the
because-
resistance.
He doesn't want her back.
Because in the show, she doesn't want to be
No.
spun back up. She's like, the whole reason she started the Envoys was to fight the idea of immortality. So like, why is he going to go search for her?
Right.
She wants to be dead, and that was kind of like a big issue
Yeah.
for me. I was
And
like, I
it's-
don't quite get
I
that.
think the way that they were trying to make it in the show is they're trying to make it that he's not necessarily trying to bring her back to life. He's
just trying
He
to go
wants
get
to
the
bring her
stack.
back so that they can
Continue
complete
their-
their mission of
Yeah.
actually getting rid of the whole stack.
But still, you're stretching in the show for
Yeah,
that,
it was
and I
bad.
feel like they could have
I
just
was really
not done
disappointed.
that.
Yeah.
This sounds
Like,
crazy.
I didn't.
Ortega's better anyway.
I read a lot of stuff, and I feel like they changed stuff. If you have a book to movie or show, if you're gonna change something, you should change it for the better.
Yeah.
And I think if they changed stuff in the show just
So-
to change it, and they didn't make it better. They just made
Well,
it
let me
worse
let me
in
give
some
you
aspects.
a.
Let's talk about another really big change.
Wait. We will. But let me add something though. So I read the book first. Dross, I think.
Yeah,
read it
I did the show
after.
first.
But I still, and I'll say this, I still actually really did enjoy the show.
Oh, I did too.
And I will just say there was actually some things in the show that I liked more.
yeah.
And then other things that they kind of like took a very, because when he wrote it, I don't know if this was his first book, but it might have been.
It was his
and
first
it
book.
felt like a lot of first books that it wasn't quite deep enough, and the show took it deep.
Yeah.
They did certain things to make it just a little bit deeper where you wanted it to be, but then they also, I'm not saying they didn't fuck up other things, but I'll say that when it was his sister, I sat back and I was like, I'm along for this ride. Let's see what happens.
I think that's better.
And I didn't mind it being
I
his
do.
sister. What I
did
did
not
mind is
mind it. I
I
liked
did
it.
mind that they took away his, like they added too much of this like superhero motivation
Yeah.
to him when I felt that Takeshi Kovacs is more of a
I'm
I
doing
don't
this for
give
myself.
a fuck. I'm doing this for myself and my girl.
Whereas opposed to in the show,
'Cause
they
he
made
got-
it seem like he's doing it to be like, oh, I don't want these people to get hurt.
So
Like,
the entire reason that he got so pissed and even went further than he needed to take out Ray
Raylene?
in the book was only because she took Sarah's body,
Yeah.
or Sarah's
Her
soul,
mind.
She
her
threatened-
stack, and he just
like,
felt
people.
like, I'm gonna
It's
kill
personal.
you, motherfucker. Now it's personal, and that was it. That was all it took for him. It was nothing else. It was just there's like probably 3 people in the world I actually care about, and even in the book when he gets out of Riker's sleeve and gets back into a techno ninja sleeve,
Yeah.
I'll call it a techno ninja sleeve. He's like, oh man, I don't even think Ortega's hot anymore.
Yeah.
It was all pheromones. It was Riker's pheromones.
It was
He
all
doesn't
Riker's
give a
pheromones.
shit.
Yeah,
And then
Riker.
afterwards, he's just like, yeah, Ortega's cool, but we kind of just.
Yeah,
that-
it was awkward between
Yeah,
them.
we just like.
That was
let it-
that was definitely something that I felt in the show that makes more sense hearing what they kind of did in the book. But like the whole time that he was like in the beginning, you just get this super feeling that he doesn't care about anything.
Yes.
That he doesn't care about anybody, that he's or not anybody, but he almost cares about nobody, that they constantly go to planets, they make, temporary allies, and they use them for, cannon
As
fodder.
envoys
And
do.
that's just part of the game.
As
and then
envoys
towards
do.
the end, you're like, maybe this guy's misunderstood. Maybe he's not quite the envoy that he thinks he is. Maybe he's actually kind of a good guy. And you kind of leave with that feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
I really
Where
like that.
In the book,
you don't.
What was the saying in the book, though? Like,
That's enough, you bastards.
no, not that one. 'Cause that's also in the show. That's fucking enough.
Yeah.
The saying that Virginia Vidora always says is like, as envoys, you take what you can. Or,
And sometimes that's enough.
Sometimes that's enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, sometimes you get what you can, and sometimes that's enough.
and that has to be enough.
Yeah,
or
and
something
sometimes
like that.
it has to
and
be
they
enough.
changed it in the show. She would say like, I forgot what it was, but it was something so cheesy. I was like,
Yeah.
There's
That's-
definitely some cheesy
Yeah,
things
one of the
in
things
show.
about the book I really liked was he wasn't a likable protagonist. Like, he was a bastard at times. Like, oh my god, how can he do this stuff? But he also like became more human as the book went on.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, not like
That's how I felt in the
super
show
nice
as well.
super hero type human, but
Yeah.
he showed him doing the right things. a
Ben,
lot
like
of the
you
time.
talk about this like you have feelings.
Ben, you raise a
Hey,
super interesting point.
Ben's like, I hope to live that way.
hey,
Ben
Yes,
raises a
yes,
super
yes.
interesting point because a lot of heroes throughout the sci-fi genre deal with those exact same issues, Ben. Do I have human feelings? Do I have empathy? Am I more human than an android? These are a lot of like themes that you'll find through a ton of super awesome modern sci-fi works like Blade Runner and kind of anything by Philip
Yeah.
K. Dick. So to see it in this work also was definitely gratifying from the sci-fi point of view.
So I know Eam the Dream's got a really good second point. Before we get to it, I have to talk about something a little smaller, which is, in my opinion, a humongous improvement in the show. And I loved Poe.
Okay, that's what I was talking about. That's not small. That's fucking huge.
Poe and the Raven.
Yeah,
amazing.
he was.
The hotel she was staying in the book
ad.
is called the Hendrix.
Yep.
They changed it in the show. They called it
The Raven.
The Raven.
The
Is
Raven.
the hotel.
And
Oh,
the
the hotel,
AI,
okay.
the name of the AI was Poe, like
Yes.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
It was awesome. The hotel was awesome. The vibe and the character was awesome. And he just added a lot of like, it just had this.
He had a
great
great
feeling.
partnership with
Yeah, I liked
Kovacs.
him.
And if you guys don't mind me
Yeah.
going down a very, very tiny rabbit hole here just for 60 seconds.
Do it.
The figure of Edgar Allan Poe, I was so happy to see in this because Altered Carbon in and itself is a perfect blending of the sci-fi genre and the noir film genre. You have the hard-boiled detective who's attempting to solve this. It's a series of biomedical cybergenetic crimes. And to have Altered Carbon throw in Edgar Allan Poe is super cool because a lot of people don't know Poe for his noir work. Edgar Allan Poe is really widely known for his Gothic literature work, but he's actually one of the founding fathers of the noir crime genre. There's a few stories that he's written. Murders in the Rue Morgue and Man of the Crowd are both super, super early stories that were written during Poe's lifetime, obviously. And he kind of really typifies the detective who's able to categorize suspects and figure out small details in their motivations. So throwing Poe in this story was a super, super cool shout out to that, I thought.
Awesome. And can I add
Sure.
something to that even? Because I recently reread all of the Sherlock Holmes. And even in Sherlock Holmes, there are shout outs to Edgar Allan Poe being the
Nice.
the initiator of that genre as
The hard-boiled
as,
detective noir genre.
Yeah, because oh my god, I'm having such. I haven't had enough sleep for this, but there's several characters that actually are trying to compare Sherlock Holmes to some of Edgar Allan Poe's characters, and being
Right.
like, that's not right, that's weird, that's different, and that was because of that. So,
Awesome.
kind of an interesting shout out there. I'm sorry that I didn't do that as well as the Dross did because I have had not enough sleep. All right. So, I love the Raven.
me too.
Man,
So what he really meant was that he hasn't had enough sleep, not that he has not had enough.
I have not had enough sleep.
Yeah. There's one thing in the book, the hotel.
Hendrix.
Like, you got a feeling that it really wanted him to be there, but they didn't go into a lot of stuff. And then when it started helping him hack into stuff,
Yeah.
like, why is this hotel
Yeah.
doing this?
Well, they do say that it's like sex.
It's like sex
for
to them, for them to
AI.
have a customer.
They've been programmed to try to get customers in, but they did it better in the
Agreed.
show
But the
because
thing
they
is,
actually
it's like,
said it. They're
There's
like,
one thing, like, oh, I got this customer, I'm going to help him out with everything I can, but I'm going to hack into his database illegally.
And she's like, you do realize that UN sanctions this is like up to erasure of my programming. And it's like, there are people out there who will have sex and probably be fine having a penalty of death. But most people, and I would think in AI especially, would be like, no, that's not the
That's
trade.
too much.
That's too much. Granted, it's been millennia or hundreds of years because no one uses those hotels anymore. So
I think-
it's pretty desperate. But I thought
I
it was
don't
a
know,
stretch.
I feel
if
like
you go 100
one-
years,
One, I feel like
100
there's
years
one, I feel
without
like-
anything, you might be a little desperate too.
One, I feel like there's examples in like human history of like famous couples, like of like certain people being kind of corrupted by one bad person, either a bad boy or a bad girl, and like going into a life of crime because they just fall so endlessly in love with that person. So I feel like there's human precedent for it. And then two, I feel like that these hotels are almost kind of like they're like programming mistakes almost. Like they went
Yeah.
too hard into their desire to please their guest, and that's why nobody goes there anymore. Because they say in the show anyway that it's like, oh my gosh, you're going to one of those hotels. It's like basically like signing up for a stalker
Right.
for life.
And then even
that's
Poe,
like what they're kind of
even
seen as.
Poe says when he goes to play cards with the other AI in the show, he's like, "So what if it's my first guest in 50 years?" He's like,
Yeah.
it's just hilarious. I think in the book it's even longer. It's a
It was
longer
like
period
100
of time.
years, I
It's
thought,
like-
that
yeah.
they were
Yeah.
out in the book. But they didn't really touch on a lot of that. I guess they did say things like that it is
They
like
just, they just
sex,
glanced
but
over it.
That's
But,
the thing about
yeah.
the deepness
It
that
felt
I'm talking about.
too
in the,
vague for a reason
which I
for
agree
them
with
to,
him to
for
drink.
this
AI.
AI to suddenly be like, yeah, I'll hack in and
That's probably why they changed it
give
in
me
the
a
show.
risk of erasure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they did change it in the show to give the AI more. Number one, make him
More
an actual
personality.
character,
Yeah.
and then number two, they wanted to take that concept and go a little deeper with it because there was some things that just in the book, though I enjoyed the book. It was, you could tell that there was a lot of moments that there was just this glancing thing that could be
Yeah.
a lot.
And if they explain that better in the show,
They
I'm
do.
all for
Yeah,
that.
they definitely
It was
do.
just in the book. It was just kind of like it seems a little much for going on.
it
Like he
seemed
suddenly
too forced.
cloned
They
him.
just needed
Yeah.
an AI to do something, so it's like, I'm a hotel, I'm an AI.
By the way, they took in the book, the AI clones him, his stack, but in the show, he actually hijacks a super illegal and super expensive piece of machinery to clone himself.
Was it though?
in the
pretty
no,
sure.
it was Ortega that
It's
did
basically
it in
a
the book.
gigantic bioorganic
It
3D
was
printer
Ortega.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that happened. It was Ortega helped him
in the show.
in the book.
Book.
In the book.
Oh, in the book.
Ortega helped him, but I don't recall. But I do recall that the I don't know if it was the AI because the AI at one point said, I have the ability to like assimilate your.
That's how he
conscience."
got his stack. His stack cloned from the AI, and he got the body after they
the
were
Fight
in that
Club.
fighting
From the
club,
fight
and
club.
he basically cloned his body at the fight club.
Yeah.
Club.
At the fight club.
Something that's really funny that they did in the show, in the Fight Club too, is that they put his actual sleeve in the arena, and he was fighting his own sleeve as the blonde Riker. As Riker, he was
Right,
fighting his own
Takeshi.
sleeve.
How did that work?
Yeah, it was-
How'd they get the sleeve
Wait,
from
in the show?
Yeah.
How'd they get the sleeve from
Harlan's World?
Halloran, whatever the other planet.
They didn't
Carnage
have.
had it.
So
remember
here's
this at all.
here's what happened. Let me explain this to the book only, guys. Basically, what happened in the show is they had a genetic sample from 250 years ago, and from Harlem's World, and it so happened to be his own, one of his own genetic samples. not his own genetic sample from his original body, but his own genetic sample from one of his next sleeves.
Oh, okay.
So-
And they
Okay.
took it and they recloned it and they turned it into the Tech Ninja. And instead of Takeshi getting the Tech Ninja sleeve later and infiltrating Heaven in the Clouds, or Head in the Clouds, he fights the Tech Ninja in the
With
fighting
Mayhem.
arena with the Riker sleeve.
Who did
Yeah.
he fight in the book?
It was
In the book, he
Patchwork
fought
Man.
the opposite
Cadman.
one.
Cadman.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he fought Cadman, who was in
right.
one of the other advanced
sleeves,
sleeves,
yeah.
and then because the Tech Ninja sleeve was still there,
Yeah, he
he
took that
took
one.
it. He's like, hell yeah, I've always wanted one of these bad boys.
Well,
And he took
it was
that Tech
brand
Ninja.
new tech in the book that had only been around
Yeah.
for like a year, and the UN was saying that they were going to put a 10-year hold on.
So, and then he
So-
infiltrates Head in the Clouds with in his more comfortable
Advanced
Asian
suit.
body, and that's when he only goes back into Riker's body because basically he F's that one up and has to go back into the Riker sleeve. But I understand the change for the show because it's all about actors and where you want your actors in the scenes.
Yeah.
And you've got this main character for this particular book, so you got to use them. You got
Yeah.
to use those acting chops. So
I feel like
was
the
fine
actor
with
that they chose for Asian Takeshi or mixed Takeshi did not look half at all. He did not look half Asian.
He did not.
He looked straight up Asian. He looked
he
straight
did.
up Asian.
But
His
actually,
sister,
right.
however, was
Yeah.
definitely mixed.
she's actually the actress is half
Yeah.
German. And,
Yeah, she
and-
looks
big time.
mixed.
But I will
hardcore.
say though, they don't actually say that Takeshi's half in the show. They say that it could be the same mom but a different dad. Just throwing that out there.
No,
In the
Takeshi
show.
is half. They're both supposed
In the
to be half.
book, he's supposed to be. But
Yeah.
anyway, just a thought.
Going back to the AI,
please,
because
please.
I didn't really get a chance to talk. What they did in the book was they emphasized how they don't have a lot of. There's like no interaction that they have with anybody else, so the AI was bored. They get bored, which is why it was complacent to assist him because it was.
They're
actually
also
having fun.
programmed to make money.
But
In the book,
yeah. And but in the show, what they did is they did give it an actual character where it had a longing. It's actual. They actually give it a
Yeah.
personality. Like, oh, I like humans and I want to aspire to be more like them. So that's why he really liked
Poe
he
really liked
taught them a
Kovacs.
lot.
with Kovac.
Whereas which is different than the actual
The book.
The book.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made it Poe into an actual character and they gave him so much more parts.
That sounds good. I wish they would have done that in the
They
book.
had another character altogether.
It
that
kind of makes
they like emphasize
it makes,
a lot
I don't
more
know.
too.
I haven't read it, so I can't really say for sure. But it doesn't like seem that out of ordinary than to expect an AI to potentially do something that doesn't make sense to a human. It's kind of like the paperclip idea, where like they say, be careful about creating an AI whose sole objective is to make paperclips, because it'll start like killing people and disassembling our entire like infrastructure just to make paperclips once it runs out of materials. You know, even though because that's its directive. So like if its directive is to please humans, I don't see why it wouldn't do everything possible.
well,
you know?
its directive was to run the hotel for profit. The reason why they changed from like human owners to the AI, because the humans couldn't make money and the AI came in and like took over. Like they bought those hotels and they became the owner. And like the directive was to run these hotels for profit.
Okay.
And if you're gonna get erased because you're doing something illegal, you'd think it'd be like, it's probably not a good idea to go down this. It's not a profitable solution.
Well,
Yeah.
I still think that they gave it a customers are like sex statement
Yeah.
that came from the book, and to
Yeah.
me, I feel like the way that AI in this book, a really interesting take on the future, because we all talk about AI because it's on the cusp of our reality now, right? And in this future, we somehow just kind of found a way to manage it, and I think it's because in the end, we're all just digitized.
Yeah.
Which is
So we're all basically a bunch of fucking AI.
A bunch of data.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
that
kind of
went out.
I just
interesting.
felt like in the book, like there's a potential for it to be there for this character, and they skimmed over a lot of it, and then at the end they just like brought it in.
Yeah.
And he's like, in 100%.
Yeah,
So
They do
Oh,
that
get
better
there. Why is
hands
this
down
guy
in the
there?
show. I think everyone would agree.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it-
hands down.
I think
It's-
also there's a lot of stuff that you can't do with Jimi Hendrix because that's obviously what the hotel was
Right.
in
Yes.
the book. He can't. You can't have anything with Jimi Hendrix being associated with like violence or stuff like that. So I don't think they had he as the author had the opportunity to do it. But
Whereas
he
if
definitely,
Poe,
you can.
Yeah,
but
you
he definitely didn't. He wanted to have or pay homage to Hendrix, but then he didn't get the opportunity to make it into a character.
Right.
No violence, like when he first checked in and gunned down those two
But
guys.
it's not the AI in the book is not personified like it is in the show.
the show.
It's just the hotel.
But he just said that it can't be associated with violence, and he has those huge machine guns, and he just shot down.
Have some
I
of this
just feel- I think
Spanish
it-
castle
over-
magic, baby.
Yeah. Overall, I think it was fine. It was just one specific moment
Yeah.
where 3/4 of the way through the book, all of a sudden the AI of the hotel is like, "You do realize this is illegal?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I could be like, these are the options. Like, this is how I could be reprimanded. I could be erased as an AI. That's essentially death." And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "I just want you to know that." And it's like,
He basically the
Alright,
AI.
No, I
basically-
think you're forgetting the fact that Takeshi says, "Okay, well, if you don't want to do it, then I'll go to another hotel that will."
No, I don't think he
He
should.
does
never
say
says
that. He does
He
say
says
that.
that if
He
you don't
does
want to
say
do
that.
it, that's fine. That's what he says.
He says that he does say threaten to leave the hotel.
No,
He
I don't
says
think
I'll
said
go
that in
somewhere
the book
else.
at all.
That
I agree with
would make
Josh.
complete sense then.
We'll have to check. That'll be the second fact check.
Yeah.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
We've got two
He
now.
did. I think what Josh said. What
He's
happened?
just like, I'll leave. It's fine. You
He's
don't,
like, you don't have to
it.
do it. That's fine. Because he treated the AI like an actual person.
Yeah.
And
Maybe that made the AI feel pretty good.
maybe it did. Maybe it gave
So-
it a little orgasm.
But all the same, in the book, they didn't dive into it, but in the show they do.
That's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I would
It's
like
just
to
good.
see that.
So I think we should
that's what I
call
said.
this particular episode Part 1, and we will continue in Part 2, where we may need to start talking about AI. We haven't even gotten into the soul and
Yeah.
Catholics.
Yeah,
and
man, the
Poe,
stacks.
and the stacks, the
And
technology.
we haven't really talked about Ortega either.
No, we
Oh,
haven't.
we got a lot of
Or Latino
Ortega.
mothers.
Yeah.
Ortega's mother, Ortega.
Something
Or
that
Trap.
just before we wrap up, something that was really cool in the show is that they had people speaking in their like native tongue, and
A
other
lot.
people just understood.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
really?
I think that's a reality because we're actually pretty close to certain types of audible translators, and I think by the time they already have like their phones in their eye, like
Yeah,
you know,
they'll probably
they're. I mean, like it's almost pointless that language is going to essentially become. It's not
Fluid.
going to matter.
Just like
It's
that.
just
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
So.
I get.
All right, folks. So this is part 1, episode 1 of Altered Carbon Discussion, and we will join you again as we continue the discussion deep into the book, the movie. This is Lit Literature again, and the shoutouts. Your host, the Demon.
The
On
captain.
the lines, we've got
The captain.
The cherry?
The Hitman.
The director.
Aim the dream.
Goodbye.
Farewell. Don't blow your stack.
Yes. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.